Welcome back. Academy of Kicks here with another real versus rep comparison, and this one is from BST, BrandSneakerTwins. So I got Cloud White Yeezy 350 V2, and it is the reflective version. So let's see what they look like here out of the box. Gonna have a look first at the lateral side of the left shoe, give you guys a good visual so you can kind of get a first overall impression as well. And then we're going to be later going into comparing it with my authentic version. However, my authentic version is the non-reflective version. I still think it would be a pretty good comparison to do. The tags are on the right side of the shoe, which means that they used a European box label, because with the European Yeezys, the tag is going to be on the right, and then the American version tag's on the left. So here's the replica version, and this is the authentic version here. So I'm sure you can see a few differences already just looking at them, and I'm going to give you an overall visual representation of the authentic version here. Just take note of the overall appearance and shape and the materials used. Now let's go ahead and look at the replica version from BST one more time. Alright, so let's go ahead and point off some things that are similar and some that are different. You notice on the front and the back of the authentic version it has the pattern, whereas on the replica version it's not patterned, and I think that's because it's going to be the reflective version. So that's one main difference. When we're looking at this stripe here on the authentic version, notice how thick it is, and it's got some good distribution. Whereas on this replica version, it is very tiny and it's really curved here. So that's another immediate difference that I noticed here on the replica version. Looking here at the midsole, notice the translucency at the top. It's a little bit more opaque here on the replica version, but not too noticeable. And the colors are slightly off as well. So the replica version is slightly more white, whereas the retail is going to be a little bit more yellow. Alright, next thing I want you to notice here is the inner tab here, or the heel cup, that you can see through the translucent stripe. Notice the length and width of it here on the authentic version. And when you look at the replica, it's significantly shorter and it's wider, so they didn't get the distribution or the shape 100% on this. So you can definitely notice a difference there. And these are both the same size, I should mention as well. Look at the tongue here on the replica, or I'm sorry, on the authentic version. It's nice and steep and it has good angle, and the tongue is pretty high compared to the heel there. And when you look at the replica version, I want you to notice the tongue is more curved, and the difference between the height is not significant. So the heel tab is either too tall or the tongue is too short. Whereas here on the authentic, you can see that again, the tongue is much higher than the heel. I'm going to look at the medial side of the shoe. Notice some of the patterns here and how they're sunken into the midsole. And on the replica version, they're even more sunken down. So just a little bit of mismatch there. Not too significant. You're not going to really notice that on foot, but just some minor detail to notice. There it is again on the authentic version. I want you to look at the outsole that rides up on that midsole. So the little portion there in the very back of the heel, it's a little bit more yellow, like I mentioned earlier, on the authentic versus the replica version. I'm gonna show you the bottoms of the shoe here too, so you can get a good visual on that as well. So notice around the edges of the shoe where the outsole meets the midsole, the color difference is a little bit different. It's not as dark here on the authentic version, where as you look at the replica version, you can see pretty significant difference there where they meet on the shoe. Now let's look at the inside tag here. Now just remember some of the numbers are going to be different because this is a non-reflective version here on the authentic. And then inside stitching there. When you look at the replica, you notice some of the numbers are touching those horizontal bars. So it's just a little minor detail, but hard to tell to an untrained eye. And then there's a stitching minor flaw there on the inside of the shoe. Now look at the heel tabs and cups at the end. A little bit different color on the replica, and it's more rounded. And let's have a look at the insoles here. Little bit difference in colors, but otherwise pretty spot on there for the insoles. Usually the insoles aren't too off, usually just a little bit of color difference, and most times the replicas actually do the insoles a little bit better in my opinion.